Reagan National Airport, just a stone's throw from downtown Washington, D.C., a favourite for politicians and power brokers alike. It's convenient, sure, but also notorious among pilots as one of the most challenging airports in America. But why? Well, for starters, it sits smack dab in the middle of restricted airspace, hemmed in by the White House, the Pentagon, and the Capitol. That means pilots don't have the luxury of wide, sweeping approaches. They have to thread the needle through tightly controlled corridors, making sharp turns at low altitudes with little room for error. And if they stray, let's just say a squadron of fighter jets might take an interest in their flight path. Landings at Reagan are not just routine exercises, they're high-stakes maneuvers requiring pinpoint precision. The infamous river visual approach forces pilots to follow the Potomac's winding course, banking left and right, all while descending quickly enough to make the short runway. It's scenic for passengers, sure, but for pilots, it's like landing on an aircraft carrier, except without the arresting cables to stop them. But that's not all. The airport's location means wind conditions can shift unpredictably, making final approaches even trickier. Throw in DC's heavy air traffic and the need for rapid turnarounds, and you've got an airport where even experienced pilots have to be at the top of their game. The airport has seen its share of close calls and tragedies over the years. After all, it's an airport where every takeoff and landing is a high-stakes operation. In the 1940s, Reagan National Airport, then known as Washington National, was still in its infancy, having opened in 1941. But even in its early years, it saw its share of accidents, a reflection of both the rapid expansion of aviation and the challenges of operating an airport so close to Washington, D.C. The airport wasn't just dangerous for takeoff and landing. It was also a place where the crowded airspace above Washington could lead to disaster. On November 1st, 1949, Eastern Airlines Flight 537, a Douglas DC-4 carrying 55 people, was on final approach to the national airport. But at the same time, a Bolivian military Lockheed P-38 Lightning, yes, a fighter plane, was flying through the area, piloted by an inexperienced aviator. And then, disaster struck. The P-38 collided with the commercial airliner, slicing through its fuselage and sending it plummeting into the Potomac River. Every single passenger and crew member aboard the DC-4 perished. 55 lives lost in an instant. Miraculously, the pilot of the P-38 survived, but the crash became one of the deadliest air disasters in the US at the time. This tragedy led to tighter airspace control and stricter traffic regulations around National Airport, emphasizing the need for better coordination between military and civilian flights. The 1940s saw rapid growth in aviation, but also a lot of trial and error, especially with aircraft technology and airport operations. While the Eastern Airlines disaster was the most high-profile, there were other minor accidents and emergency landings at National Airport during this time, many caused by poor weather, mechanical failures, or the sheer inexperience of early pilots adjusting to the demands of a busy airport in a major city. Perhaps the most infamous disaster associated with Reagan National wasn't even caused by the airport itself. On a brutally cold January day in 1982, Air Florida Flight 90 attempted to take off in a blizzard. But the pilots had failed to properly de-ice the aircraft, and when they tried to climb out of the airport, the plane barely made it off the runway. It struggled to gain altitude, stalled, and then plunged straight into the ice-covered Potomac River. But the horror didn't end there. The survivors, trapped in the freezing water, had to rely on heroic bystanders and a US Park Police helicopter crew to pull them out. Tragically, only 5 people survived, and the crash claimed 78 lives, including 4 motorists on the 14th Street Bridge, which the plane clipped before hitting the river. This disaster became a turning point in aviation safety, leading to stricter de-icing regulations and better crew training on winter operations. But even in the modern era, Reagan National's short runways have made it a risky place in bad weather. But some of the scariest moments at the airport haven't been crashes, they've been close calls. The July 16, 2017 near miss at Reagan was one of the most dangerous air traffic control incidents in recent history. It highlighted just how complex and risky the airport's airspace can be, especially during peak traffic times. 3 regional jets, 2 departing and 1 arriving, were involved in the near disaster. The inbound aircraft was cleared to land on runway 1. At the same time, 2 other regional jets were preparing for takeoff on the same runway. As the incoming plane approached, air traffic controllers suddenly realized the dangerous situation. The 2 outgoing planes were accelerating down runway 1 just as the inbound plane was coming in to land. The planes were moments away from a catastrophic collision. But quick action saved the day. Controllers urgently ordered the incoming jet to abort its landing at the last possible moment. The pilots immediately executed a go-around, pulling the aircraft up and away from the 2 departing jets just in time. What could have been a horrific accident turned into just another terrifying close call. The planes were separated by just a few hundred feet, a shockingly small margin in aviation terms. The FAA later investigated and found that the incident was caused by miscommunication between controllers, managing different segments of the traffic. The mistake happened when a controller cleared the 2 departing planes without realizing the arriving aircraft had already been given landing clearance. But the close call was a wake-up call. The FAA quickly reviewed and updated its air traffic control procedures at Reagan National, making sure controllers had better coordination when handling departures and arrivals on the same runway. While no one was hurt that day, the near miss was a stark reminder that Reagan National's tight airspace leaves no room for mistakes. Even one misstep can put multiple aircraft in immediate danger, and only quick thinking can keep disaster at bay. Reagan National is a marvel of engineering, a hub of political power, and a test of pilots' skill. But its location, trapped between the Potomac, restricted airspace, and unpredictable weather, means it will always be one of the most dangerous airports in America. Every flight that takes off or lands isn't just another routine operation. It's a calculated risk, a testament to training, and a reminder that even in the most controlled environments, chaos is never far away.